Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video we are going to see how we can configure routing between the VLANs. The concept is inter-VLAN routing. So I will be using my Cisco packet tracer for this video, and this is the topology which I'll be using. So we have a couple of PC and a switch 2960 model, and I have a router connected to it. So let's see how we can do this. So first thing, I am going to see what interfaces we have here. So we have gigabit Ethernet 0/0 and 0/1. Let's get into the router. And as you guys are aware, on the router, on the Cisco devices, by default we have the CDP neighbor enabled. So we can see the show CDP neighbor command, use the neighbor command, see what interfaces the devices are connected on. Since I have not enabled any interface on the router, that's why it's not pulling up. Let's enable the interfaces. Let's check what interfaces we have. Show interface, and we have 0/0 and 0/1. Let's enable them both. Let's use the command. Okay, we can see, so locally the device which was connected on gigabit Ethernet 0/0, as you can see here, the device was connected locally on gigabit Ethernet 0/0, and on the switch this is connected on fast Ethernet 0/3. Okay, let's configure the interface, and I am going to use an IP address, and we have to keep the gateway here. IP address of class C, so 192.168.1.1 with subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. This is /24. Oh well, that is wrong. I told you in the beginning that we should be using a sub interface in this case, so I have to use let's go out. So the interface I have to use is 0.10, because for VLAN 10 we are going to name the same nomenclature here as well. Otherwise this would be very confusing to map them to. So we usually use VLAN 10 for a sub interface of 0.0/0.10. So that would help you to identify them easily. So that is why we are doing this. The interface is up. Let's give it an IP. Zero. So it says we have to sub interfaces configure IEEE, and we have to enable the encapsulation. So let's enable the encapsulation. And we have to specify the VLAN here, so the VLAN is 10. Now let's use the up arrow key to configure the IP address. So since this is done, let's get back to the second sub interface which we need to configure. I'm going to use the up arrow key to use the buffer history of my commands. That will help me. So it's the second sub interface we am creating, so I'm going to use a different IP address here, and it's for VLAN 20. So IP address would be, I will be using 192.168.2.1.255.255.0. So this should be good on the router. Let's check on the switch. enable and run the show series enable command. So we see the router is connected on 0/3 interface, and in this case we have to make it a trunk. Ethernet 0/3 switch port mode trunk. So this should be doing the trick, and we have to create the VLANs here. Let's create VLAN 10 and 20. VLAN 10. I'm going to name them as VLAN 10. Let's create the next VLAN. Name it as VLAN 20. So this is good. You can check the VLAN database by using the command show VLAN brief. So you can see that VLAN 10 and 20 are created, and all the interfaces are residing on the default VLAN, and we should be assigning the interfaces to VLAN 10 and 20 to get the PCs up and working. But before that, let's configure the IP statically on the desktops. So I'm going to keep PC 0 in VLAN 10. So that is the IP which I'm going to give, and the gateway should be 1.1. Okay, this should be good. Now let's configure the IP for PC 1. This IP should be 2.2. It can be anything in the subnet. It should not be specifically 2.2. I'm just using the next available IP. Let's give the gateway 2.1. So now this is done. Let's get this PC assigned to the respective VLAN. I'm going to keep PC 0 in VLAN 10. Let's get in the switch, and this should be, the interface should be fast Ethernet 0/1 and this 02. Okay, got it. Configure terminal interface fast Ethernet 0/1. The configuration you use to assign an interface into an access mode is switch port mode access, and if you want to assign it to a particular VLAN, the command is switch port access VLAN 10. Now this is assigned to VLAN 10. Let's check on the next interface. So the interface is 0/2. Let's make it an access port, access, and let's assign it to VLAN 20 switch port access VLAN 20. Not to forget to save the configurations. I'm using DoWrite. Let's see if we are able to reach PC 0 from PC 0 to PC 1. So let's ping that IP 2.168.2.2 is the IP address of PC 1. Let's see if this is reachable. Yeah, as you should be knowing, or if you're not aware, the first two packets always goes out as a broadcast. It is requesting for the MAC address. It knows the IP address. It is requesting for the MAC address of that PC1, which is on the other subnet. So it should be working good now. So this is reachable. That means communication is going from PC 0 to PC 1. It's on both sides. Let's see the entries on the router. Okay. I have the entries for 2.2 and 1.2. So they both should be reachable. It's working. Oh, that is reachable. So this is how you can configure an communication between the VLANs. So we are using a router and a switch on a single interface. You can also use multiple interfaces, one for each VLAN, but that is complicated. It will cost you a lot of Ethernet cables, and which is a waste of money. So they came up with this concept of the sub interface and trunking the interface going towards the router. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.